on our feet and put our hands together again for our keynote speaker of the night, all the way from Washington, D.C., Brother Anthony Browder.
Well. Hotep. Before I get started, Mama, may I speak? Thank you. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be here. My first time to Brooklyn, the first time to the Slave Theater. Hopefully it won't be the last. I'm quite pleased that Brother Maddox referenced those who have been responsible for my development, because surely I cannot take the credit myself. It was back in 1978 that I first heard Dr. Ben speak, and back then I had hair. My hair looked like Don King. My mind was blown. I, 2 years later, first heard Dr. Clark, and again, Brother Clark took me to another level. And then about 2 years after that, I had the pleasure to meet Brother John G. Jackson, who just recently passed. And he took me to another level. And with the guidance of these three strong African men, I have begun to find a true purpose for my life. And until we can find a purpose for living, we're just wasting air. What I want to share with you this evening is a lecture and slide presentation that deals primarily with my latest publication, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. Now, let me start off by telling you that by training, I'm an artist. I'm a designer by training. I went to Howard University, got a degree in design, advertising design, and so that's my primary interest. It was only after I began to realize, and I went to black schools all my life, graduated from Howard University. It was only, Negro schools, you're right. It was only after I had been introduced to the thoughts of Dr. Ben and John Henry Clark and Brother Jackson and others that I began to realize the extent to which I've been truly miseducated. I realized then that it was my responsibility to begin to control the information that I took into this body. You all are familiar with Brother Carter G. Woodson and his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Woodson has a saying in that book that I find to be quite personally enlightening for me. Woodson says that every person has two educations, one that is given to him and the other that he gives himself. And of the two, the latter is by far more significant, because everything that is important in a person's life is that which you must seek out for yourself. It constitutes your real and best education. So on the basis of my coming to an understanding, fortunately early enough in my life, my coming to an understanding that I was going to have to assume responsibility for the information that went into this brain, I began to devote my time and my energies traveling first to Kemet with Dr. Ben in 1980, and then going back on several other occasions, having an opportunity to meet with Dr. Clark and sponsoring similar programs such as this in Washington, D.C. So I've had an opportunity to rub shoulders with Sister Shashi McIntyre and Francis Welsing and a host of sisters and brothers who are on the front line, bringing knowledge and information to their people. And as a result of being in this environment, I have truly gotten an education. And so it's my responsibility, as I see it, to do what I can to make this information available to the masses of folk who won't come to the slave theater, who won't watch Listervelt Middleton on For the People, who won't buy the books from the brothers and sisters outside. They need the information as well, because they too have been miseducated. So primarily by using my formal training as an artist or designer, one of the things that I have opted to do is to find a way to make the information as visually stimulating as possible, knowing that we are visually oriented people. All right, so find a way to take the graphics and take the design element and take the photographs and to incorporate it into a publication so that our people will want to read the material and then begin to move forward. So it's from that spirit that I have, produced my works, and it is also from that spirit that I will share with you my lecture this evening, which is, again, a lecture and slide presentation, which is essentially a comprehensive overview of African history, 6,000 years of African history. It's important that we understand the significance of symbols. We all talk about the Medu Neter, but we need to understand something about the power of symbols to convey quantum amounts of information in minute particles of time. The Asians have a saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I dare say that you all will probably forget 70% of what I'll say to you this evening, but the images that you're going to see will stay fixed in your mind for eternity. And I dare say that some of you this evening will probably wake up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning once that melatonin starts kicking in. You'll wake up in the morning thinking about some of the images that you've seen, and these images will unlock answers within your mind. So we've got to begin to understand who we are, not who others said we were, but who we are, and we've got to use all of the means available to us to unlock the chains on our minds and resurrect our African consciousness. You have the tools, sisters and brothers. You've got the means at your disposal to free yourself. What you have to do is to cultivate the interest. And I see this forum as an opportunity to bring sisters and brothers such as myself here to give you the tools necessary to pick the lock on your brain and free your mind. That's what this whole process is all about. So when I deal specifically with the subject matter at hand, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, one of the first issues that I had to address is why there was a need to talk about Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. When you truly understand the extent to which we have been written out of our own history, and others have taken our historical accomplishments and claimed them as their own creation, and then used that information to empower themselves, and then later enslaved us and told us that we had never created anything of worth, and they desire in practically every way possible to reclaim the spiritual essence of Africa, while they have effectively brainwashed us into rejecting the essence of who we are. We have the keys to the knowledge. And all you have to do, sisters and brothers, is to train your eye to understand that those keys are all around you. You can take one here, you can take one there, and begin to unlock the various doors in your mind and literally free yourself. It's important for us to understand, again, the extent to which lies have been fabricated, primarily by educational institutions, to marginalize our worth as a people. I referenced on the radio show this morning the Encyclopedia Britannica, which, and let me read to you, I want to give you this exact quote so you can understand the extent of the lies that were fabricated. In the 1884 edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, they were talking about the Negro, and they said that the Negro occupies at the same time the lowest position on the evolutionary scale, thus affording the best material for the comparative study of the highest anthropoids and the human species. In other words, if you want to study apes, study niggers, because they're more closely related to niggers than any other people on the planet. Scientific documentation. They also went on to talk about why we don't have the intellectual capacity of other races. And again, a quote. They say that the cranial sutures close much earlier in the Negro than in other races. To this premature ossification of the skull, preventing our further development of the brain, many pathologists have attributed the inherent mental inferiority of the blacks, an inferiority which is even more marked than their physical differences. What they were saying scientifically was that the cranial sutures of your skull, the three pieces of your skull that come together, begin to fuse together at the onset of puberty, around the age of 13 or 14. And by the time the Negro reaches the age of 19, those cranial sutures have fused shut, thereby preventing the Negro from learning anything else after the age of 19. So if you haven't gotten all there is to get by the age of 19, you out of luck. This lie was used to justify our enslavement. And we have to understand that it is a lie. More importantly, we have to begin to use every means at our disposal to uncover the lies and to enlighten ourselves to assume our rightful place in history. So when we study the Nile Valley is significant because it represents the oldest evidence of the development of culture. By culture, I mean writing, science, philosophy, architecture, mathematics, medicine, engineering, you name it, it was developed in the Nile Valley before there was a Europe. And so what had to happen was to remove the Nile Valley from Africa, remove Egypt from Africa. And so in the 1940s, they came up with this notion that Egypt is in the Middle East. So whenever somebody tells you this lie, you got to stop and ask the question, if Egypt is in the Middle East, then where's the Middle West? Where's the Middle North? Where's the Middle South? We've got to begin to understand, sisters and brothers, that we are in a war. We are existing in a state of war. It is unlike many wars that we're used to. They're not bombs bursting in the air, and we don't see the rockets' red glare. The war, the battlefield is right here in our minds. And whoever controls what you think, particularly your perceptions of the past, will be able to determine your quality of life today, and more importantly, the quality of life for the next 3 generations. Why 3 generations? You see, because what you know, you're going to pass on to your children. And your children will pass on to their children. And their children will pass on to their children. So if you have not taken a stand to challenge the lies, and you will continue to perpetuate this miseducation process, which is going to affect the quality of life of your great-grandchildren. This is a serious dilemma that we're confronted with, sisters and brothers. But we're at a crossroads, a very important crossroads in history, where we have the ability now to change things almost instantaneously. Through lectures such as this, through books, through audio tapes and videotapes, there's more information available today about African people than at any point in time within the last 500 years. You can change the world tomorrow. But you must begin here. You must begin here. So let me begin by going into the slides. Let me just jump right into it. And hopefully, as I hope is the tradition, we'll have some time at the end of the presentations for some questions and answers. In terms of just sharing with you the images, I'd like to, brother, can you kill that light? I'd like to begin with this image because it's important. This is an ad that you'll generally find in many publications during the month of February, so-called Black History Month. It was an ad that was published by the now defunct corporation, Eastern Airlines, that states a historical truth. And that truth is, before there was American history, there was Black history. And they accurately portray that Black history as ancient Nile Valley history. The only problem is, the only time you'll find ads such as this is during February. The only place you will find ads such as this is in so-called Black publications. Jet, Essence, Ebony. You'll never see an ad such as this in Time, in Life, in Newsweek. It is as if we are the only ones who are supposed to know this story. And the only time we're supposed to know it is February, which is the shortest month of the year, and the coldest month of the year, which has been set aside to celebrate the history of the oldest people on the planet. It is insane. So we have to begin to understand that every day is an opportunity for us to celebrate our history and our culture. We must see and understand the reality that history is a weapon that can be used in your mental liberation. Next slide, please. Again, when we talk about the Nile Valley, we talk about the development of architecture. The very first building ever designed and constructed by human beings is still standing today in Africa, the Step Pyramid of Saqqara, designed by a person that I'm sure all of you all know, Imhotep, the brother responsible for designing this structure. Again, when you see this image, you must allow this image to wash away all of the derogatory stereotypes that we have in our mind, that we have ingrained in our minds about Africa, believing that Africans lived in caves, lived in trees, lived in huts. They designed the first skyscrapers on the planet. This is a remarkable accomplishment. Do you understand the thinking that went into designing this structure? The engineering